Hello, everybody. My name is Dave Jackson, and you're listening to Tales from the Backlog Producer's Choice. And this is a little mini-series we do on Tales from the Backlog, where I am joined by a patron at the Tube producer level to do a topic of their choice. So I'll introduce the guest today real quick. Is a longtime patron and friend of the show, Jake, aka Zulgeek. Welcome on the podcast. Welcome back on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. For those who've been listening for a long time, Jake is a many-time guest on the show. We talked about Firewatch. We talked about Gone Home. We tier ranked the Dark Souls 3 bosses together. I think that's it, right? Was there something else?
Bloodborne with Moon.
And Bloodborne, that's right. You were on with Moon, yeah.
Yep.
So, 5th time on the show. Welcome back. And today, we're going to be talking about our top 3 childhood gaming traditions. So the way that this little mini-series works is that at the Tube producer level of the Patreon, patreon.com/realdavejackson, you get to not only guest on an episode, because you're not really like paying to guest on an episode. Like we said, Jake's been on the show 4 times before, but you get to pick what we're going to talk about. And the only stipulation is you can't make me play another game. But other than that, we talk about whatever you want. So you chose to do top 3 childhood gaming traditions. And what was the impetus there? Why this?
So I was thinking about this topic back around the holidays, which, a couple weeks ago now, and by the time this is posted, could be farther away. But one of my favorite gaming childhood traditions that we'll get to is specifically around the holidays. And so that was on my mind. And I was like, oh yeah, and I have a couple others that I remember and I enjoy. I think one of them will be fairly common for people of a certain age group, and the other 2 might be a little more specific to me and growing up.
Yeah, so you said people of a specific age group, and you and I are fairly similar in age. I don't know exactly how old you are, but I know we're in the neighborhood. So just before we get into childhood gaming traditions, I want to just kind of get a quick sense of what childhood in gaming was for you. What were the systems you were playing on? What were maybe a couple of key games like in the history of your love of video games?
Yeah, my gaming goes back to the good old NES and Super Mario Brothers. A big game for me though was Super Mario Brothers 3. It's one of the first ones I remember being old enough to be aware of the marketing and campaigning around it and getting really excited. I remember getting home from the store with it and unwrapping it and being able to finally, pop it in and play. From there, I was one of the Genesis kids instead of Super Nintendo.
Okay.
Played lots of Super Nintendo at friends' houses, but I had a Genesis. I had a Game Gear at one point. From there, went to the Nintendo 64, and that was a huge system for me. Tons of gaming, tons of summer filled with certain games, just staying at a friend's house and trying to 100% them and stuff like that. The N64, I believe I went to the PlayStation 2. And then after that, I was mainly PC gaming for a long time. So the N64 was my last Nintendo console until the Switch very recently. And I eventually got a PlayStation 3 and Xbox and things like that here and there, but I was mainly PC for a long time.
Okay, cool. So I think if I'm going to guess, we'll have a lot of childhood things centered around the NES, the Genesis, maybe the N64. The N64 was the start of console gaming for me. Personally, I didn't have a console before that. I had a Game Gear. I played some games, but games were more all the other toys that I had with the Game Gear. When I got Pokemon and a Game Boy, that was when I think that sparked my lifelong love of video games was Pokemon. And then the N64 we got a year after that, and it's all history after that. So we may have some overlap there when we get into our childhood traditions. But let's get into our list. So we've each picked 3 childhood traditions, and then maybe we'll have some honorable mentions at the end, just some quick things. But I think I'll get us started so the guest, you can finish this out. So my number 3 childhood tradition, and this is maybe the least substantial, but the funniest in memory, is I have a little brother, and the tradition was the little brother or the friend that comes over to play games gets the shitty controller, whatever it is, whether it's the N64 controller where the stick doesn't work right, or if it's the Mad Catz controller on the GameCube, whatever the shitty controller is, little brother gets it, or your friend that comes over.
I was going to say Mad Catz. That's the first thing that came to mind, the Mad Catz third-party controller.
I think I heard recently that Mad Catz like got out of no, they didn't get out of controllers. They started making generic controllers that can work with everything instead of like, Xbox specific, PlayStation specific. But it's funny, kind of funny that their brand is synonymous with just the shitty controller in so many people of our generation's minds.
Yeah.
Is that on your list, or did you have something like that with your friends or anything like that?
That one isn't specifically on my list, but that was definitely a thing. The guest or younger sibling always got that controller. So, if I was at somebody's house, I got that controller. If they were at my house, they got that controller.
Yeah. I wonder if that's because I don't hear about people buying, those cheap controllers anymore as much. So like, maybe it's like, you have kids, if they have friends come over, it's like, friends get the Joy-Cons, your kids get the Pro Controller or something like that.
We only have the Joy-Cons, so.
Okay, well, fair enough. You get the shitty Joy-Cons that have the drift, and I get the ones that work. Maybe it's something like that.
That's me in our family gaming. I get the one that has drift. Okay. I have to deal with it.
Okay. That's the dad handicap.
Yep, it is.
Yeah. All right. What's your number 3?
So my number 3 is the one that I think other people may share, and that is the good old reading the instruction manual in the car on the way home. Just waiting to get it to the house so you can actually play it, and reading the instruction manual, which isn't a thing anymore because everything's downloaded and they don't come with instruction manuals.
Mm-hmm. It's a shame. I miss instruction manuals so much.
Oh, yeah.
I did that exact same thing, and I have a memory of we went to the midnight release for Pokemon Gold and Silver. It was like on a school night. I don't know what we had to do to get my parents to take us there, but we went to the mall, we picked it up at midnight, and I remember like reading the manual on the way home in the car, but it's midnight, and like my parents wouldn't let us turn on the overhead lights in the back seat, of course. So it was like reading by like the street lights passing by.
As they
like
pass.
Every 10 seconds, you're like, oh, I can read another sentence. Like something
exactly.
like that. So do you have a specific manual or memory that comes to mind when you think about that?
The specific manual that comes to mind is the Baldur's Gate manual, which is like a book. The thing is huge because it was also basically like a miniature player's handbook for all the D&D stuff in it.
Right.
But I mean, I did it with everything because there was also, depending on what game and where you rented it from, sometimes you'd rent a game and it would have a manual with it. And that was always a nice little treat for the drive home too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely miss those. And I always like, somehow my manuals always got like separated from the games. So I would just have like random manuals long after we sold the games. Cause when we were kids, we had to sell the old game to buy the new game. But sometimes the manual stuck around. So there's like a loose Ocarina of Time manual floating around the house for like 10 years after we sold that game. So that's a good one. That's definitely something I was considering an honorable mention for sure.
I think I might have an honorable mention similar to that one that I'll tack on at the end if I remember.
Mm-hmm. Now that when you buy a game, especially a physical game, you have to wait so long to install it and everything. You fucking should get a manual. Give me something to do while I'm waiting for that God of War Ragnarok. Like, 80 fucking gigabytes to install. I need something to do.
What's the point of getting the disc when you still have to do that?
So I can sell the disc back and make like make like $30 back. Yeah, that's all. That's the only reason I buy physical games anymore. So, my number 2 is maybe something that you were hinting at with your intro there for why you chose this topic. My number 2 is playing games on Christmas morning, whatever you got. So that one year we got Pokemon for Christmas, and we plugged it into, we also got Game Boy Pockets. So it was like the whole deal, and it was like the coolest thing, and played it all day on Christmas, and we played it through Christmas break. And I think I've told this story before, but it was the first RPG we ever played. So we didn't know you could save, and there's a save option in the menu. It's right there, but we missed it. So we basically played like, as long as you could in one play session until your parents told you to go to bed or whatever. And then we just shut it off and started a new game the next day.
No, no.
And we did that all Christmas break until we got to school. And I saw like my friends were like way further in the game than me. And I was like, how did you do this? Like, how'd you not have to change the batteries? They're like, dude, you can save, you idiot. I'm like, man.
Wow. That is unfortunate.
Yeah. But I have that tradition continued basically like all through high school, through college. If I took, a console home for Christmas break or something, always, whatever you got. I remember playing the Wii U, because I don't remember if I got the Wii U or if I just got some games for Christmas. But I remember playing that on the Wii U touchpad while watching the Christmas Day basketball games and thinking the Wii U is the coolest thing I've ever owned. This is going to revolutionize gaming. And it did, I guess, kind of inadvertently.
Yeah.
So I assume that that's on your list then, playing games on Christmas morning?
Kind of, but it's a little more specific than that. And we'll get to it actually for my number 1.
Okay, right on. So what's your number 2?
So my number 2 has to do with the fact that my dad, although not by vocation at this point, but just as a hobby, is an artist. Mm-hmm. He can draw just amazingly. But his main thing is he's really good at copying what he sees. So I would give him an instruction manual that has the characters and stuff, artwork for the game in it. And he would draw like full size on a piece of paper, the characters, and then I'd make copies of them, and I'd basically have my own coloring books of the characters from instruction manuals for games.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so like I said, like I would just make a bunch of copies of the same character, like give some to friends and stuff. So like, the Double Dragon characters or whatever, and get to color them in myself. So it was really cool.
That's awesome. I thought you were going to say you would like sell them on the playground, 10 cents. Get your Double Dragon.
I should have, but I was not
sheets.
Nearly that entrepreneurial at a young age.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Double Dragon. That's awesome. So did you like save them and have like a book of them or anything like that?
I might have some somewhere, or my mom might have some, but I haven't seen any in a really long time.
Or like back then, did you just like color them in and toss them, or did you keep them together?
No, I definitely had a folder or something that I had them in. Because I'd always keep like a master copy that I wouldn't color. So if I wanted more copies, I could get it.
Oh, sure.
Like I at least was smart enough to do that, but not smart enough to make money off of it.
Yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say that. That's awesome, though.
Yeah,
to have your dad spend the time to draw pictures of. So you said Double Dragon. Any others that?
That's the main one jumping out for some reason, because just I remember the art in the instruction manual was a very like simple design. So it was easy to color in, it wasn't a ton of little folds in the cloth. It was just very simple and stylized. So it was easy and fun to color in. He drew Ninja Turtles for me all the time because they're my favorite thing.
Nice.
So I know there were some based out of the instruction manuals for that, but also, just from the cartoons and stuff. I'm trying to remember, did some Mario ones, just basically anything. If I saw a cool picture or instruction manual, I'd be like, hey dad, can you draw this? And then I'd get to color it in.
Nice. I'm looking at the manual for Double Dragon right now, and it looks like an instructional manual that's like teaching real people, like an instructional book teaching you how to fight.
Yeah.
Except instead of here's how you throw a punch, it says press the A button to punch.
Yeah.
But it has like you said, these black and white instructions. It looks like the survival guides I used to buy, that like step by step how to survive if you step in quicksand and stuff like that.
We all thought that was going to be a much bigger problem than it ever ended up being.
Yes, yeah, correct. I'm sure that there is quicksand around, but probably not in Ohio. So if I just stay here forever, I'll be safe. It's the most depressing thing I've ever said in my life. But yeah, that's super cool. And to have your dad help out with that's an awesome memory.
Yeah.
My number one gaming tradition from childhood is getting together with friends and either renting a game or having a game that someone had and trying to beat the entire thing in one night, regardless of what it was. And the one that sticks out the most is we did Ocarina of Time several times when we were in like middle school or early high school, stuff like that. Me and the guys from Top 3, Aaron and Alan and Bloodbath, and other friends of ours too. We would head over to usually Alan's house, plug in the N64, and play straight through Ocarina of Time without sleeping, like all night. And usually naming Link something funny, where like when people would yell his name, it'd be like, "Hey, bitch, listen," like stuff like that. You know, stuff that's hilarious when you're 14.
Classic.
But yeah, we definitely did that with Ocarina of Time. We probably did it with Majora's Mask, or we would just like play Smash Brothers all night long, or Mario Kart, stuff like that. So that's my number one. I have, because of those nights, I have, and I'm sure the other guys do too, like an encyclopedic memory of Ocarina of Time, because we just, in order to beat it all in one night, you have to know what you're doing, because it's not the shortest game, even though it was on the N64. So yeah, that was really good times, really fond memories going through that.
Absolutely.
Do you ever do stuff like that?
Oh yeah, I have one cousin in particular that I remember whenever I'd visit, we would stay up all night beating various games. I know we did that with one of the Super Star Wars games on Super Nintendo. I think it was Empire Strikes Back. And then we did it a bunch. We did it a bunch of times with the Ninja Turtles, like brawlers, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And we'd play through the entire game over,
Nice.
Just overnight. And then we'd be finally going to bed when his parents were getting up.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely like that for sure. You know what I just realized is I never did like LAN parties playing Halo or stuff like that. But this was basically that. Like we would bring our systems over to someone's house. Like I guess we didn't bring an extra TV over or something, but we did stay up all night playing video games and generally being loud, I'm sure. So did you ever do LAN parties?
No, I didn't really do LAN parties ever. Just the same as you, just, consoles and stay up all night playing games. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. So number one, you teased at it before. It has something to do with the holidays.
Yes, it does. It does have to do with Christmas. As a kid, I was a very early riser. I liked being up before anyone else because I liked kind of having the house to myself.
Yeah, king of the castle.
Yeah. So my parents, so that I wouldn't go wake them up Christmas morning super early, would leave one gift outside my door. And I knew that when I woke up, I could open that gift. And after like a couple years of random stuff, it ended up always being a video game, because that would keep me entertained. So I'd get up, see what video game I got, and just sit down and play, for hours until the rest of the family was up and we could do the rest of Christmas. And so one of them was Ocarina of Time. Nice. I knew I was getting that one, though, because I convinced my dad to go pre-order it so I could get the special gold cartridge of it, which you only got for pre-ordering. And I convinced him to do it because like it was a special cartridge. And he's like, you don't get it till Christmas. I was like, I know. And, then I wake up that early that morning and there it is sitting outside my door, plug it in and just played for hours and hours and hours till everyone else got up. And I loved doing that. Getting up super early, having a game there and just playing away. Didn't need to wake up my parents. That was the main gift I wanted anyways.
Yeah, exactly. That was very smart on your parents.
Yes,
your parents' side too. They were like, man, it is like 4:15 in the morning.
Exactly.
We got to keep him occupied so we can just get a couple more hours of sleep.
Exactly.
That was genius. Yeah.
It was very smart.
Yeah. I loved on Christmas getting to the point. This is another. I guess this is like an honorable mention or something, but I would always wake up early, always before my parents on Christmas morning, and my brother too. And we would go out because my parents would put the gifts out, over late at night after we'd gone to bed. We'd always go out and try and find the game boxes because you could tell, like, okay, I know the shape of an N64 game box. I know the shape of a Game Boy game box. I want to go find those and try and, like, while we're waiting, try and figure out what games they are.
Yep.
And not going to lie, like this year for Christmas, I got a PS5 game. I got Stranger of Paradise, the Final Fantasy Limp Bizkit mashup game.
Gotta kill chaos.
Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, I got real excited when I saw the gift and I was like, that's a PS5 game. I know
it.
Got real excited to see
Gets that nostalgia going.
Yeah. Never really gets old, man.
No, it does not.
Have you incorporated, are your kids into gaming? I know you said you've played with them sometimes.
Yeah, they both have their own Switch.
Yeah.
And they play those quite often.
So do you have any kind of holiday tradition centered around gaming at home?
Not super particularly. I mean, they always get a game, but they don't get up that early. Like this year, my wife and I were awake and like had made coffee and we're sitting around going, are they going to get up? Why are we up and ready before them? It's Christmas Day.
They wake up at like 11:30, like, oh, what's up? Like, oh, it's Christmas. I forgot. Like that.
I'm just like, I'm glad you guys appreciate us.
Yeah.
So nothing like particularly as a tradition besides getting games and playing them. I mean, we always try to play stuff together, like the whole family. We play Smash together, which one of my kids, his birthday is coming up this month. And as an early gift, I hadn't gotten any of the DLC characters for Smash. So,
nice.
So we just did that for him the other day. So we've been all as a family playing again because it's a bunch of new characters and Mario Kart. We do sometimes Animal Crossing. And on our Animal Crossing island, like they all have their houses down by the village. And I was like, I'm going up to this corner away from everybody and building my house. And my character has like no shoes and no pants. It's just like this wacko wandering around their island.
It sounds like a dad to me.
Absolutely.
Do you have any other honorable mention traditions that you have good memories about?
Kind of a funny honorable mention that sidetracks off the reading the instruction manual on the way home. Reading the instructional manual on the toilet.
Yep.
Yep. Like
until you're done reading it, it goes with you everywhere, right?
Yeah. Well, or like you get home and you're so excited that, you got to go, which is you can't play the game yet. So you go in there with the manual.
Now, the modern equivalent of that is going on the fandom.com wiki for God of War Ragnarok while I'm waiting for the download.
Googling things I wish I would have known before I started, or
before
10
I played
beginners
.com.
tips or tricks.
Yeah. Just doesn't hit the same.
No, it doesn't. The instruction manuals and maps and all the stuff you used to just get in regular games, not the $200 collector's editions.
Yeah. Yep. It's a real scam they pulled. Turning the instruction manual into $100 worth of extra product.
Have you seen what's going on with Diablo 4?
No, I've
so they
been
have
avoiding. What are they doing?
Really expensive but they don't call it a collector's edition, like of the game. It's a really expensive Diablo collector's box because it doesn't come with the game.
Okay.
It's just like a bunch of stuff. Like,
So
it doesn't
like
come with
Diablo,
a digital code, nothing.
No, just the goodie box.
Yeah.
With all the,
and it's like $200 or something.
I was just going to say, I bet it's super expensive because
doesn't even come with a copy of the game.
They know that people will buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, with Elden Ring, I bought the collector's edition and digital because the shipping got delayed and I wanted to play it release day. So I was like, I guess I got to buy the digital now.
Yep. That's Miyazaki holding up the delivery himself, making sure that
knew that I would buy that other copy.
Yeah. I got another honorable mention from when I was a kid. So this happened at least for one summer, but probably multiple summers. Time's not really real when you're 12 years old, but my parents both had to work during the summer. They're both teachers, but they had stuff to do during the summer. So my brother and I would have to go to my mom's school with her because, there's no kids in the school, so we can just go chill. And we would just hang out in her office. And while she worked, we would bring our GameCube with us and we would just play 007 Nightfire all day while she was at work.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we really took breaks. There was nothing else for us to do. It's an empty school. The gym is locked. Like, can't do anything.
Yeah.
So we would just play 007 Nightfire. We would put it on, because that one had bots, unlike GoldenEye. So we would it would be like us against like 3 teams of bots or like 6 bots, however the format was. And we would just play that like all day long. And we would go home, and the next day we'd have to go back to the office, and we'd just bring the GameCube, rinse and repeat for like an entire summer. And we had a blast. And that's what, it's probably the reason why that's my favorite 007 game in my memory. Like, I had fun playing GoldenEye, but I had like a lot of fun playing Nightfire.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Did you play that?
I never played Nightfire because N64 was my last Nintendo console.
That's true. You said that.
So I missed a ton of stuff.
Weird that James Bond was only on Nintendo for as big a name as that is. But yeah, Nightfire was fun. It was a lot more like first person shootery than GoldenEye was, like more modern first person shootery than GoldenEye, which you had the gun sticking out of the middle of the screen, and
I just loved stacking up the proximity mines.
Yeah.
Because they would stack on top of each other physically. And so you'd have them sticking out from the wall, like all the way across a hallway. And then see how big of an explosion you could make before they started despawning each other.
Yeah. Yeah, that game was a lot of fun too. But we had a great time. We would play, because Nightfire had these remote controlled rockets. And so we would play the mode with only those. And we would like camp out on different sides of the map. Just shoot the rockets and just try to find somebody and chase them down.
Drive around. That's
so
awesome.
much fun. Yeah,
that is awesome.
Yeah, it was a great time.
I've got another honorable mention.
Yeah, sure.
Did you ever have Game Genie?
We had Game Shark, but
Game Shark, which came after Game Genie.
Yeah.
So Game Genie, of course, would come with the booklet of cheat codes for games.
Mm-hmm.
But you could sign up with them, and they would send you updated little booklets like every month for new games that were coming out.
Okay.
And so one of my traditions would be like when I would get a few of those updated booklets and bring them with me to rent games and look through and be like, is this game in here? Will I have cheat codes for it?
You're renting a game. You only have it for a few days, right? You can't spend time powering up. I got to go now.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'd be looking through all the booklets, and I have like a stack of them with me in the store, like sitting on the floor, going through, seeing if a particular game was in one of them.
And your parents just standing off to the corner, like,
oh yeah, my dad's
making
just like
eye contact with the clerk at the store, just like, yeah, I know, like, just sorry about this.
Humor him.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. We had Game Sharks for our Game Boys, and that was how I completed the Pokédex on Pokemon Gold and Silver. So we had fun doing that. We did it all natural on Red and Blue, but for Gold and Silver, Celebi was the one we like missed the event for it and we couldn't do it. So we used the Game Sharks. We fucked up our cartridges. I think like those games have clocks in them that cause the cartridges to die. So like I have a Gold and Silver cart here. I would be very surprised if it still worked because the clock battery would run out.
Yeah.
But we fucked up our old cartridges long before that because of all the Game Sharking we did.
Yeah. I mean, it was rewriting code.
You're fucking up all the rental copies at the store,
probably
Blockbuster or whatever.
It was a video world is what it was called. It was just like a little local thing.
Even better.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I think that's all the gaming traditions that I can think of that we had. Obviously, going over to other people's houses to play games and me being on the other side of that, like having to use the Mad Catz controller when I'm playing Madden at someone else's house or something like that. But I can't think of any other real traditions. Yeah. Do you have any others?
I don't know. Yeah. I think I hit the big ones. Other things are just like, these are memories from childhood gaming.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what's a childhood memory that I did more than 3 times because that counts as a tradition.
Well, I mean, yeah, doing my chores so I could rent games on the weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me and my brother would multiple times. I don't know if it's a tradition because I don't think there was any rhyme or reason to it, but many times we would do 99 stock matches versus the computers on Super Smash Brothers. On Melee, I think. But I don't think that counts as a tradition. That's just weird kids doing impossible video game things because they have unlimited free time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when it was no big deal to be playing Final Fantasy VII and be like, yeah, I'll give Ruby Weapon a shot. It's only a 45-minute fight, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
A single fight that takes that long and you mess up, you start all over.
My schedule's clear. I got time to do that. Yeah. Well, this has been fun. This has been a fun trip down memory lane. That's cool.
Yeah, it's fun times.
If anyone listening wants to do an episode like this, this is available for patrons at the tube producer level on patreon.com/realdavejackson. And if you are so inclined to support in that way, you can do an episode like this. It can be a top 3 list. It can be a chat through your history as a gamer. It could be a topic you want to talk about. Really anything goes as long as I don't have to play and beat another video game to do the talk. But this was a good time. Chris Nelson was on the show before. We did top 3 video game items that are too good to use. And then since we recorded that, I found some other ones that are too good to use.
Every item. Yes. Never use an item in a game.
Correct. You might need it later.
Yes.
Yeah. So the topic is really, really open, and I'm happy to do these just kind of quick, fun chats, especially these top 3 lists. So Jake, I appreciate the support on Patreon. I appreciate you coming on the show all those times to talk about those games with me. Especially in the early days of the show when it was like, you want to do an episode tomorrow? Let's do it.
All right. It's fun.
We've come a long way since then, but I'll be definitely getting you back on the show for a proper game episode sometime soon. And again, I really appreciate the support.
Absolutely. Yeah. I look forward to being back on.
Yeah, 100%. So everybody, thank you for listening. Tune in soon for a proper episode of the show. Let's see, when am I going to put this episode out? It might be after Final Fantasy IX, before the break discussion. Yeah. So maybe like the late half of January. So everyone, maybe there will be a new episode coming about long games and burnout. Maybe Ruby Weapon contributed to some people burning out on Final Fantasy VII. Yeah. So thank you for listening. Thank you, Jake, for coming on. See you later, everybody.